you for being with us on the Feast of St. Casimir of Poland. Our top story tonight, a momentous decision by the Supreme Court and a big victory for former President Donald Trump. The justices ruled 9-0 that Trump cannot be removed from the ballot in Colorado or any other state with a similar lawsuit. It comes one day before the Super Tuesday primaries. The majority writing, "We conclude that states may disqualify persons holding or attempting to hold state office, but states have no power under the Constitution to enforce Section 3 with respect to federal offices, especially the presidency." The decision came after months of debate over whether Trump violated the insurrectionist clause in the Constitution's 14th Amendment. Trump spoke a short time after the decision was announced.
You cannot take somebody out of a race. The voters can take the person out of the race very quickly, but a court shouldn't be doing that, and the Supreme Court saw that very well, and I really do believe that will be a unifying factor.
And for more, let's bring in Giancarlo Canaparo, Senior Legal Fellow at the Edwin Meese III Center for Legal and Judicial Studies. Giancarlo, good to be with you today. So explain to us the significance of today's Supreme Court decision and what this means.
Yeah, sure. This is a 9-0 unanimous decision by the Supreme Court, which says Trump cannot be removed. In fact, nobody can remove Trump or any president under the 14th Amendment except Congress through appropriate legislation, which is the language of Section 5 of the 14th Amendment. What this means is that the Colorado effort to keep Trump off the ballot is dead, the Maine effort to keep Trump off the ballot is dead, and the recent Illinois judicial decision keeping Trump off the ballot is dead. Nobody can do this. To do so is a massive disenfranchisement of millions of Americans, and not one justice was going to support that.
Giancarlo, what are some of the key takeaways from this decision as you see it?
Yeah, well, one of the things that this decision should be is a wake-up call to a lot of people on the left who think that it is appropriate to disenfranchise millions of their fellow countrymen and to tear up the Constitution to kick off a president that they don't like. If not a single justice of the Supreme Court could support that, you need to wake up and think about whether or not, your anger at a particular presidential candidate has made you unhinged. But those efforts are done and gone. Trump will appear on the ballots, and the voters will rightly get to decide.
The Supreme Court's opinion doesn't directly address whether Trump's actions on January 6th qualified as an insurrection, which is in part what Colorado argued. As to the reason for removing Trump from the ballot, can you talk to us about that, and is there any significance there?
Right. What the Supreme Court held is that that is a question only for Congress. Section 5 of the 14th Amendment gives Congress and Congress alone the ability to enforce that. And so if Congress wants to do that, Congress needs to enact legislation in advance of those kinds of things to define insurrections, to punish insurrections, and Congress hasn't done that. Congress doesn't appear to be willing to do that. So it's just not a question for judges to decide, and certainly not a question for state officials to decide when the ramifications are the disenfranchisement of tens of millions of Americans.
Yeah, and the court said that it would hear arguments in a case that seeks to answer whether Trump enjoys broad immunity for his actions on January 6th. Does today's case, does it provide, any insight into how justices may view Trump's immunity claim?
Unfortunately not. The immunity claim represents a very different area of law. We actually haven't had a decision on these cases, on these questions of law since the Nixon administration. And the answers that the court gave all those years ago weren't really satisfying, weren't really complete. So that's going to be a different issue, and we'll see what happens.
All right, we're going to leave right there. Giancarlo, thank you so much for weighing in. Appreciate your insights.
My pleasure.